Sometimes when we're out shopping or surfing online, we randomly choose certain products over others, and while we may think that we're consciously choosing one company over another, rarely do we consider which companies we're actually buying from. Unbeknownst to many, the phenomenon of a multi-brand strategy means that certain businesses are deliberately launching new brands to compete against their own cinemas. We all love the cinema, but for some people, those big chains are a little too much with their screaming kids, popcorn stench, and nothing but blockbuster action films. A lot of people prefer the smaller experience, a nice small cinema where it's quieter, cheaper, and you can watch a wider range of kookier, smaller films. That's great. The bad news for people who really want to avoid the mega chains is most independent cinemas are owned by big chains. Most notable of these is Picture House. So, Picture House openly presents themselves as a chain, but a small chain. A chain that's all about indie and art house films. But the truth is, Cineworld owns them, and this is their way of roping in fans that normally wouldn't want to go to something like a Cineworld. Feeling cynical about the world of business yet? It gets worse, guys. Time for the big dogs. Number 8. Mad Magazine. You may be familiar with Mad Magazine. For those not, it's a hugely popular satirical magazine that takes no prisoners and was a huge inspiration for the likes of Matt Groening, Judd Apatow, and Seth MacFarlane. Mad is anti-establishment, raucous, and the first taste many kids get of challenging ideas. That's why it's so odd that it's owned by none other than DC Entertainment. That's right, the same company who owned family-friendly Clark Kent owned the most anti-establishment comic out there. Most interesting of all is that Mad Magazine produced a spoof called Good Night Batcave. It's a fun pastiche on children's books starring Batman. But oddly, they billed it as 100% unauthorized as part of their anti-establishment image. But DC owns both Batman and Mad, so that spoof was completely authorized. That's just one company making fun of something they own and then claiming it's unauthorized. Not quite as punk as they want you to think. Number 7. MindGeek owning porn. At first glance, MindGeek seems like your normal online operation. They're one of those companies with fingers and a lot of pies. They own the comedy site Video Bash and the gossip site Celeb News. They state that they, and this is a direct quote from their website, sorry to read at you, "We drive the state of technology forward, developing industry-leading solution enabling faster, more efficient delivery of content every second to millions of customers worldwide." That's a posh way of saying we own all the porn. Like, all the porn. For real, MindGeek owns an overwhelming majority of the internet's pornography. Here's a list of the sites they own, and let's be honest, you're probably familiar with some of them. So when you accept that the internet is mainly pornography and cat videos, these guys basically own half the internet, the non-cat half. A different kind of pussy. This one company alone owns 6 pornography studios, co-owns another, and manages the websites for 2 more. They even manage Playboy's online and TV operations and own 4 sites dedicated to reality pornography. If you want to pretend you don't know what that is, it's professional pornography designed to look amateur. And if that wasn't enough, they own Pornhub, and therefore every single site that's part of the Pornhub network. That's a lot of porn. There's more porn vids than there are stars in the universe. With a name like MindGeek, you'd think these guys were some kind of Silicon Valley-style gang developing cool tech for the future, but they're more like the Walt Disney of adult entertainment. Number 6. Toms of Maine. The more delicate among you may have felt a touch uncomfortable with me saying the word porn so much, so let's look at something nice and clean. Good old-fashioned toothpaste. In particular, Toms of Maine. We all know Toms of Maine. It's a reliable, small brand that prides itself on its ethical approach. No artificial ingredients, no testing on animals, no part of their process is bad for the environment. Yet they're owned by Colgate. Seriously, you want to trust the little guy for making ethical products. Then it turns out they're just a division of the big guy so they can also take money from the hippies who only want the ethical stuff. Yeesh. Number 5. Blue Moon. While I'm on this subject, you know Blue Moon, the humble little indie beer we all love for being handcrafted and authentic, turns out is owned by Coors and is merely marketed to look humble, indie, and handcrafted. Some of the stuff on this list you can't get too frustrated about. Tom's of Maine, for example, did at least begin as a nice indie operation until Colgate sucked them in like a money vacuum. But Blue Moon has always been Coors' attempt to get money out of guys who didn't want to buy mainstream beer and would rather get a small craft beer. Every part of the marketing and labeling is about tricking you into thinking Blue Moon is independent, to the point that you won't find the word Coors on it anywhere, which actually caused Coors a little bit of bother, as you can imagine. The Brewers Association, which sounds like a great name for a team of drunken superheroes, took Coors to task over not mentioning on the Blue Moon label that it was one of their products. The Brewers Association felt this was a deliberate attempt to mislead consumers who may not want to buy mass-produced products into doing exactly that. An everyday bloke from California even sued them for quote-unquote tricking him into buying some back in 2015. Number 4. Disney owning mass media. At this point in time, it's kinda easier to tell you what Disney doesn't own. So I'm just going to chat about some of the lesser-known ones, because the list of stuff Disney does own is longer than a marathon of the Lord of the Rings films. Yes, including the Hobbit trilogy. And yes, extended editions. So we all know the big stuff. They own Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilms. But their claws reach further than that. Disney owns a whole bunch of different channels, and one of the most surprising is the History Channel. That's right, your historical information is provided courtesy of good old Uncle Walt. But even more shocking than that, there's a small production company. Chances are you've never heard of them. Maker Studios. These guys produce really high quality content for YouTube. Honestly, excellent stuff. I'm envious. Now, one of their most famous series is Epic Rap Battles of History. Well, Disney owns Maker Studios, so that's right, Disney partly owns Epic Rap Battles of History. It's shocking. But what's cool is the guys even reference it. Check out their Stan Lee vs. Jim Henson video and listen out for a little self-mocking near the end. Number 3. Pepsi. Pepsi owns almost everything. For real, I'm serious. Check your birth certificate. They might own you. Among the billions of things they own, one of the most interesting is Naked, as in the smoothie. It seems weird for the peddlers of fizzy teeth-rotting liquid to also put out a product that claims to be super healthy. But they do. And seriously, if you look into it, what you'll find is Pepsi or Coca-Cola owns almost every drink. Since Cola has a 90% stake in Innocent Smoothies, Pepsi, therefore, competes with Naked. Cola owns Oasis soft drinks, so Pepsi competes by owning Tropicana. And it's not just drinks that Pepsi likes to own. You know good old friendly Quaker's Oats? Apparently created by the Quakers themselves? Nonsense. It's Pepsi. If it's a liquid, Coca-Cola or Pepsi owns it. And I guess porridge is almost a liquid, so it counts. Just watch out, guys. Your blood is a liquid. Pepsi might come after that next. Number 2. Coca-Cola. Having just touched on it when we were chatting about Pepsi, let's talk in a little more detail about Coca-Cola. These guys are giants. I mentioned they own Innocent Smoothies. Well, they own the whole Innocent brand, including Innocent Tea. The Innocent brand is all about kookiness and a homemade feel with the little hats for their drinks, which is why it's so gutting they're 90% owned by a massive chain. But it's no surprise, really. The list of things Coca-Cola owns rivals Pepsi. I could have done a whole video on that. There's Fanta, Barg, Swerve, Odwalla, even the South African coffee Chewa. If it's a drink, you name it, Coca-Cola probably owns it. At this rate, I wouldn't be surprised if Pepsi and Coca-Cola soon own the 7 oceans between them. Number 1. Nestle. You know Nestle. Of course you know Nestle. We all know Nestle. They make chocolate, don't they? That's what they do. Wait, they also own California Pizza Kitchen? Sadly, this doesn't mean they're the first people to ever make a chocolate pizza combo, as much as I want that to happen. That's still a pipe dream. A disgusting, disgusting, disgusting pipe dream, but still one I'd eat. You've probably guessed by now, but it's not just California Pizza Kitchen that Nestle owns. I'd read you the list of everything Nestle owns, but that'd take longer than the entire education process. Seriously, it's truly indescribable. Listen to this. At the time of this video, Nestle owns 23 cereal brands, 12 yogurt brands, 22 coffee chains, 72 brands of water, 22 other companies, 37 ice cream chains, 22 brands of infant food, 22 nutrition products, 13 brands of frozen food, and 27 pet care brands. And that's just the stuff I could find on a quick research. There's bound to be tons more. They own all that stuff. I don't even own a matching pair of socks.